the video later on. So, Ayum, of course, it's good to have you here today again. It's been a long time, not really so long that we have this kind of chat, but I'm happy I'm having you here again together to chat on your work. And I'm always so happy to work with you. And I always also thank God for the grace on your life, for all the things you have done, you are doing, you are even yet to do, because you never can say what you're going to do the next minute. Welcome to this live chat. You're a very hardworking woman, and I won't say much about that about you, but you will tell us. So we're going to be talking about this book that you've just written. This is your third book, if I'm not wrong. I think the
Yeah.
first one was um, He Gave Me
Give me
Comfort
comfort. Yeah.
Through the Storm, and now Mama Grace. So
Yeah.
you started this book by saying, "I am what I am by the grace of God." So I will
Yeah.
now say, what are you? Who are you? Who is Ayum? Tell us who you are. The viewer will be interested in knowing who is Ayum.
Oh, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Who is Ayum? Okay, my name is Ayum. That's the name that was given to me by my dad. And Ayum means I am made. But
Mhm.
I turned the full meaning of my name to Ayum Kunjowo Flowoichu, which means
Wow.
I am made to glorify God.
Okay.
And yeah, so that is so I just believe that the essence of my life is to glorify God. So by profession, I'm an accountant, and I'm also a certified coach with the John Maxwell team. But there are so many other things that I do and so many interests that I have. So I'm
Mhm.
an entrepreneur, and I have my own small accounting practice, and I am an author, and that is why we are here today to talk about my book. And then I'm also a minister of the gospel and the founder of my Pain Your Game Ministries by the grace of God. And I'm also an associate pastor with my church, the Deliverance Center, also known as the Globe in Reading, United Kingdom. And then I'm a mother of four gorgeous girls, the last one now resting in the bosom of the Lord. And I'm a friend, a sister, and all that to many people. So I'm a lot of things. I wear different hats. So I think I need to remember the hat I'm wearing when I'm wearing it here.
So tell us, what hat are we wearing today?
I'm wearing the hat of an author today.
Good, 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 good. That's
Yeah.
that's good. Well, who doesn't know Ayum might Google her name and get more information about her and the work she does. And so, talking about this book now, we're going to be talking about the book specifically today. Like I said, you've written about three books, and this
Yeah.
third one is called Mama Grace.
Yeah.
And also, at the starting point, you said that you're a product of grace.
Mm.
Somebody will be wondering, I mean, what makes you say that? What makes you think that you are sold? What makes you think that you're a product of grace?
Yes, I look at the grace of God in the book. One of the things I talk about is to give the meaning of grace, the explanation of what grace means. And I realized that grace, one of the meaning of grace, which most of us already know, is that grace means unmerited favor. And I see myself as somebody that have enjoyed a lot of favor from God. So when I say I'm a product of grace, one of it is that I have enjoyed a lot of favor from God. And then another meaning of grace that I talk about is that grace is divine enablement. And I find that I've been able to do all that I do and whatever I have done in the time past by the grace of God. I know that in fact, I think one thing with me is that I always do much more than I can do at a time. I'm always carrying so many load at the same at a time. And I find that, especially in the season when I was taking care of my daughter, Grace, and then I've had to combine it with full-time job. I've had to take care of three other children. I have to do it with ministry. At the end of the day, I just look at it that I couldn't have been able to do any of this without the grace of God. So when I just look at my life in entirety, I just find that I am a product of grace. I'm alive today because of the grace of God. I tell some stories about how I would have lost my life in the book, but it was grace that kept me. So it is grace that have kept me alive. It is grace that gives me the enablement to do what I do. It is by grace that I am saved. It is by grace that I get all the benefits and favor that I get. So I can go on and on. So based on that, I say I am a product of grace.
Okay. Yeah, for those who are just joining us or those who are yet to join, I'm here today chatting with Eyum Ejiga, the great author. So we are talking about her third book today, the book titled Mama Grace. So if you are just joining us, please, by your right-hand side, there's a comment section. You can type in your name and tell us where you're viewing from. And if you have any question, you can type it there as well. Okay. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. And my name is Amaka Okonkwo. So with me is a Ejiga, like I've said. So you're all welcome. So happy to have you all in. So going back to my questions with you, Ayum. Well, you see, the title of this book, right? The first time I grasped to it, I was like, okay. I was actually thinking that it has to do with Grace, your first daughter. May her soul continue to rest in peace, right? But the first time I saw the book, that was where I just thought the book is all about Grace, and you are the mama of Grace, Grace's mother, right? So I thought you were going to tell us every story, everything that surrounds you and Grace or her life, everything that you went through, the good and the bad and the ugly about your child. But I'm reading the book. It wasn't really that, even though you brought in a bit of that into the book. So don't you think the title is misleading?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because I think as human beings, we are quick to jump into conclusions. So when somebody hears the title, they already have an image in their mind.
Yeah,
And I think one of the work of an author is to intrigue people,
yeah,
that
okay.
a title is not just on the surface the way you see it. And that is why the book also have a subtitle. Because when I have Mama Grace as the main title, I also have Understanding and Living Out the Grace of God as the subtitle.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I know that a lot of people don't even see the subtitle. So they only see Mama Grace, and
Yeah.
they already form an impression of what the book is about. And I don't think you are the only person that has this impression, because
Okay.
the lady that did the book review during the book launch, when after she finished reading the book, she was telling me that, oh, the book is not what they thought it was. So
Yeah.
maybe she was also thinking in the same line that you are thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But I called it Mama Grace because, number one, I'm actually Mama Grace because I have a child that is called Grace. And then secondly, I'm Mama Grace because I carry a lot of the grace of God. So that is the area I want people to also look at it, that I am Mama Grace because I carry the grace of God. So so in the book, it's still a combination of the two anyway, because it's not just entirely telling the story of the life of Grace, what I went through with her as a mother, but drawing in from my experience of what I went through with her and relating it to the grace of God, and also trying to also make it applicable to other people, because the grace of God is not just for maybe dealing with a special needs child alone. We need the grace of God in every area of our life. So I want it to be applicable to every other person as well. So yeah, I don't think the title is deceptive. It's only something that we need to dig in more when we see a title.
Okay. That's that's
Yeah.
that's 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 see, that's part of why I call it great author. You see, there's an
Mhm.
insight now for us to learn from, because the title, when you first see the title, somebody would have thought the same way I thought, but now you have given us the
Mhm.
insight about the book and why you chose the title. And that is really great. I've read the book, and it's really I will highly recommend that for anybody or for everybody to get that book. It's very good. So what do you in this book, for instance, what do you actually want people to gain from reading it? Is there
Okay.
any particular thing you expect people to gain to you? What actually inspired you to write this book? What do you want people to take home from the book?
Yeah, what I want people to get from the book is in the subtitle. Number one, I want people to really understand the grace of God. Because, like I said earlier on, many times as Christians, we have very limited knowledge of the grace.
Yeah.
When you ask anybody what is grace, they just say, oh, grace is unmerited favor, and it stops there. And they don't think deeply about it. They don't really know the different dimensions that grace can take. Because, for instance, now in the book, I talk about the dimensions of grace. So there are different dimensions, there are different aspects to grace. But the average Christian's knowledge of grace is very limited. So I want to expand that knowledge that people have of grace. That's the first reason I wrote the book. And then secondly, as people expand their knowledge of grace, I also want them to also expand their experience of grace. Because the more you know about something, the more you can apply it to your life. And the more you can recognize it when you see it springing up here and there. And then you can find a way of saying, okay, how can I increase this in my life? How can I make it applicable to
Yeah,
every area of my life? So I want people to understand grace, and then I want them to also experience grace in a higher dimension than whatever they are experiencing right now.
right,
Because the good thing is that we can grow in grace. I talk about that at length in the book. That whatever level of grace you have right now, you don't have to stay there. Just like we grow physically, we can also grow in the measure of grace that is operational in our lives.
that's powerful. There, that actually reminds me of how much I always ask for that grace each day these days. I don't really depend on that. The grace is already there. It is there, but you really have to keep tapping into it. I
Mm,
wake up every morning. I always ask for the grace for the day. Special grace for the day to carry on. And I see that working. And I remember talking to my daughter the other time. There's something she was going to work, and she said something. I said, always ask for grace at any minute.
mm,
You see that
yes.
it comes. So that's
Mm,
actually good. And I like the book, and I really I'll recommend it for anyone, everybody
mm,
to get this book. It's not much. It's about just few pages, and you can actually finish it within 3 hours or thereabouts. So and quite easy to read as well. Well done, you. I'm really so proud of you. Every time, which and who will you think will be your target group for this? I don't mean your target market for this book.
The book is written primarily for Christians because I'm talking about the grace of God from a Christian perspective.
Okay.
But I also know that everybody needs the grace of God. Every human being needs the grace of God. So even though, because I'm a Christian, I write from a Christian perspective, and my anchor is the Bible, anyone can read this book and be blessed, especially in the season that we're in right now, this season of the pandemic, where people are struggling, everybody is finding it difficult to live their day-to-day lives, to make ends meet.
Yeah.
I believe that we all need the grace of God. So whether you are a Christian or not, you need the grace of God. Whether you are young or you are old, you need the grace of God. Whether you are black or you are white, you need the grace of God. So the grace of God cuts across races, it cuts across gender, across age group. And I believe because of that, anyone can read this book and be blessed. And like you said, Amaka, I think you're not the only person that have said it. Others have said that to me as well, that this book is an easy read. And I think that's one thing about me, about my writings and about my teachings. I try to make them very simple and applicable. Because somebody was saying that the way you know a good writer or a good speaker is when they speak and you understand. It's not when
Exactly.
somebody speaks and then you have to take a dictionary and be checking what does this mean? What are they trying to say? Some people
Yeah.
want to impress you with jargons and all that, but I try to keep
No.
it simple.
Yeah.
And that is what endears people to my work, because they can just pick it and they can read it and they can see how it's applicable to their life and just apply it. Yeah.
That's actually an excellent skill for a writer or an author. That if you break your communication down in such a way that everyone can understand what you're saying, it makes a lot of difference, and people will want to listen to you. So I give you kudos for that. That's
Thank
actually
you.
great. Well done, well done. So
Thank you.
so I won't be surprised if you've started writing the fourth one or even the fifth one. But what actually inspires you to write? Because I mean, with this short time, you've written 3 books. I'm still struggling with one. But you've written 3 already. And like I said, I won't be surprised if you're already on your fourth one. So what actually inspires you to write?
Actually, I have maybe I have 2 books in the pipeline, because Sometimes
Can you
I
imagine?
not
I
when I'm
just
writing one book, an idea will just come up, and I will just draft something about another one and leave it
yeah,
there until it's time for me to begin to develop it. Yeah.
yeah,
So by the grace of God, this will not be my last book. I'll have many more books to write. And I
yeah,
think one of the things that inspires me to write is the desire to help people.
yep,
Because
okay,
when I was going through my challenge, especially when I had my daughter Grace initially, and I was devastated by the condition of her birth and the prognosis and all that that were given about the condition, one of the things that helped me was a book and books. I say a book and book because the first book that helped me was a book of of a lady that had a similar condition, and then she talked about how her mother handled the experience and how she was able to get to where she was because at this time she was successful. And when I read that book, it gave me strength. It encouraged me. It made me realize that my world had not come to an end the way I thought it was. So I just find that books are very powerful. And that was one of the things that inspired me when I was writing my first book, because I told myself that reading this lady's book have encouraged me, it has given me strength. So what strength will other people draw from reading my book? And thank God that when I also published my own book, other people were also calling me to tell me how the book has encouraged them. So that desire to help people write is one of the things that encourages me to write. And then another thing again is that you find that whatever you say here and there, we go after you've left this world. But you
mm,
find that when you've documented something in writing, it will always be there even after you have gone.
yeah,
And for me, I want to still continue to make impact even after I've left this world. And the way I will continue to make that impact is through my works. Today we still go to look for works of people like John Wesley, some old people that have lived and have passed. We still go and read their books, and we are still blessed because of what they have documented. So I just find that writing is powerful, because apart from the fact that it will affect people in your generation, it can also affect people in generations beyond you. So that is, those are some of the reasons that make me to write, and there are still many more reasons. Another one again is that I'm somebody that like to express myself in words. Like when I'm going through something, like some people they just talk about it and they are fine. But for me, when I write about my experience, it's like I ease out, I release the pain. So I find that as I'm sharing my experience, I'm helping people, but I'm also getting healed in the process. So for me, writing is also a win-win affair, because it's also a way of expelling whatever is within me, why other people are getting help as they are reading the work.
yeah. You're getting healed and getting impacted as well.
Yeah, yeah,
At the
yeah.
same time, you are doing same to others. That's
Mm,
actually great. I mean, listening to you saying all these things, that's so
mm,
much of inspiration there,
mm,
and I also like the fact that you like to express yourself in words. I love that. I do that as well. I love that. At times you just want to express
mm.
yourself. And that's actually a very good legacy, putting your thoughts
Yeah,
in writing. So when you're gone, somebody has something to read about you, or how you thought about life, or how you express yourself while you're alive, which can
mm,
also help another person to live a good life as well. That's actually a very interesting aspect of your work. Well done. Yeah, for those who are just joining, I don't know. I'm talking with Ayum, the great author. And my name is Amaka Okonkwo. So we are today talking about her third book called Mama Grace. So if you are just joining us, you can type on this comment section on your right hand side. Just type in your first name if you don't mind, and tell us where you're joining us from. You're welcome. And we're moving ahead because, like, when we started, we said we're not going to spend so much time. We're just talking about the book alone today, and we have time to talk about other things about Ayum. But for today, we are concentrating on Mama Grace. So you are all welcome. You can always watch this later on, and you have to grab the book, of course. So we'll come to that later on. But Ayum, what how do I say that? Where can people actually get this book?
yeah. The book is available on Amazon. Like if you live in the US, Amazon.com. If you live in the UK or Ireland, Amazon.co.uk. If you live in Italy, Amazon.it. So like Amazon has their like country specific website for each country. So whatever country you are watching from, when you go on, when you just type in Amazon and just type Mama Grace in books, you will find the book there. So the book is available on Amazon in both paperback, like this one I have here, and it's also available in Kindle version. So you can get the book in paperback or in Kindle version. And the good news is that the book is currently on production for audiobooks. So very shortly, before Christmas, we'll have the book in Audible, where you can download it in your iTunes. You can download it and just be listening to it on the go. So we're going to have the book on Audible. And if you live in Africa, like Nigeria and other parts of Africa, the book is also available in as an ebook on okadabooks.com. So you can just download the app to your phone or just download it from the website, and you can read the book on your computer or your whatever electronic device, your smartphone or whatever. So there are so many channels that you can get the book. So you can actually get it right now while we are speaking and begin to enjoy it.
That's actually wonderful there. And you can imagine when it comes out in audio too, you can turn it in and relax and listen while someone else reads it out for you. You don't
Yeah.
have to do the reading yourself. All you do is just to listen. That's actually powerful. And Adrian, well done for doing all this, writing your book and making sure that it's available in different forms and different ways for all ages, to be able to access your books. That's awesome. I'm also, I'm always learning from you. So this is a great learning curve for me as well. So the book is called Mama Grace. If you look on the screen all around, that's the book cover that you can see, Mama Grace. So we are talking about Mama Grace today, written by Ayum, her third book in about 4 or 5 years, if not less.
No,
And
more than that. It's
yeah,
actually more than that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and she's working on the fourth and the fifth book. So you can see what I'm talking about. So now, when people want to get this book, yeah,
Mm.
what do you how do I put it now? Why do you think, now you've told us where they can get the book, you've told
Mm.
us a little about what the book is all about. I'm not saying you're going to say everything about the book, because just
Mhm.
giving us a kind of a little bit of it. So why do you think I should go and buy this book? Why do you think our audience, our viewers, should buy this book?
Yeah, I don't just think, I want you to go and buy the book because I know that the book will be a blessing to you.
Okay.
I talk about various aspects of life that we have challenges in. I talk about grace and works. I talk about grace and our faith. I talk about grace and bereavement. Because for some of you that are watching, you may be aware, for some, you're not aware. But in 2019 was when I lost my daughter, Grace. She passed away on the 5th of August, 2019. And 3 months later, I also lost my mom. So you can imagine the impact. It was still the grace of God that carried me through that season. So I talked about grace and bereavement, how you can employ the grace of God when you are going through bereavement. I talk about grace and forgiveness when you've been badly hurt and you don't know how to pull through, how the grace of God can help you to pull through. I talk about how you can grow in grace. Who doesn't want to grow in grace? For me, I want more and more of the grace of God. Even though I'm Mama Grace, I want to still grab more and more of that grace. And calling myself Mama Grace is still prophetic because I know that I'm invoking more of the grace of God as I'm being called Mama Grace. So there are so many aspects of grace. I talk about how grace can help us with our identity. So there are so many areas of life, like I've actually touched about almost all aspects of life, that the grace of God can help you. And that is why I believe that the book will be a blessing to you. Just was that yesterday? Maybe 2 days ago, I was on the road, and then somebody called me, and then she was saying, "Oh, she just wanted to tell you how your book helped me." That she was at the book launch, but she said, I didn't open the book before then. But when our bishop was on our weekly Wednesday meeting, he talked up something about, he mentioned something and referred to the book. And then the lady said, because of that, she went to the book. And then she said she feels for some reason she went to the last chapter. She doesn't even know why. And when she opened the last chapter, it was talking about living by grace identity. And she said she read it and it was like it spoke to the very situation that she was going through at that moment, because she was struggling, she was feeling discouraged. And she said when she read that, she said, wow, it's like this book just ministered to me now, and I have to just let the author know. And that's why she called me and she was telling me. So you find that various aspects of life, this book will speak to it. It will speak to your life and it will help you. And that is why I know that you need to get the book, because for me, being the author, I'm reading this book and I'm underlining it. That is to tell you that the book is also ministering to me. And funny enough, even when I take my other books, when I read it, I say, wow, when did I write this? Because the book is also ministering to me. So I believe being an author is just a privilege that God gives you to pass a message across to the world. And that message also applies to you. So I still read my own book and I still get blessed. And I know that you will be blessed when you read this book.
That's good. I've read the book, and what you just said, it's just the simplest truth about the whole thing. The book is what I will just advise or recommend to anyone to get the book, because it has a lot loaded in that small book. It has to be like a Bible to us, or part of our Bible in the house, or something to always lean on if you need to, if you need let's say you need support for whatever you're doing, or you need to move on to another level, and you're looking for, oh, what do I do now? You actually need grace to be able to, move forward. That's very, very insightful, Ayum. Like I keep saying, thank you and well done for your work. For those that are joining us, we are still talking about the book, even though we're about to round up. We are talking about the book called Mama Grace, written by Ayum. This is her third book, and we've talked about the two the previous time, but today we are only talking about Mama Grace. That's her latest book, and yeah, we've been encouraged to grab a copy from um, Amazon or Okada Books in Africa, if
Yeah,
you're in
yeah.
Africa, yeah, or at Amazon co.uk, or if you're in America, wherever, just Google the book Mama Grace in Amazon and get it. It's so easy to read. Within 2-3 hours, you finished it, but it's loaded with messages and a lot of encouragement. Yeah, so Ayum, so what else do I ask you now? Because it's like we've actually dissected the book, but we've
Actually,
also,
there are some comments here I just want to read out. Like Joy
yeah,
says she's watching us from Ireland, and she
okay,
said Ayum has impacted me with most of this grace she's carrying and is still
yeah,
working for me. Thank you so much, Joy, for
thank
sharing
you.
that. It's good to know that. Thank you. Yeah, I think we encourage one another. Yeah, so that is great. So just like we've been talking about, is about this book is about you being helped by the grace of God. I know
Yeah,
people that got the book and they say, oh, they are getting another copy for somebody else because they say that
yeah.
this person, it will be helpful for the person to read this book. And
It's
like Amaka is saying, you can finish it in 2 to 3 hours. For me, I'm not such a fast reader, so it will take me more than that. So maybe for somebody that is very fast, the person can read it that fast. But it's something that sometimes it's not even about just rushing through it, but it's about maybe reading a bit
understanding
out of it,
and
pausing
understanding.
and
Yeah,
meditating and seeing how
yeah.
you can apply it to your life, because the book is very practical. Ochinya says she has a question. Please type your question in the chat. If you have any question for us, type it in the chat and we'll be able to pick it from there.
Yeah, and it's actually a Christmas present or gift to anybody at this time, both young and old. You can pick it, and it's so affordable. Once you go to Amazon, you see the price. It's so affordable that I can pick it up and give to somebody at this Christmas time as Christmas gift. So, what will you say? I want us. I'm looking at our time. I'm making sure that we're keeping to time so that we don't keep our viewers waiting for too long on the Saturday. Morning or afternoon. A lot of people have a lot of things to do, and we're just engaging them. And we're happy and grateful that we have people joining us and those who are yet to watch much later on. So, what would be your advice to upcoming authors or writers, or those who are still struggling to publish even one book, like my good self, who has been struggling with one for a long time? What would be your advice to people like us and to our viewers who want to write like you?
My advice to any upcoming writer is just to start. You just need to find that time and put yourself Writing is just like any other thing that we accomplish in life. If you want to accomplish anything, you create time for it. Because if you are waiting for it to just happen, it's not going to happen like that. A book is made up of chapters. A chapter is made up of paragraphs. Paragraphs are made up of sentences. So before you can write a book, you know that, okay, I'll write one chapter, I'll write two chapters. But how do I write one chapter? You start with,
Yeah.
and sentences, of course, are made up of words. And the
Yeah.
words are made up of alphabet. So you need to just start putting those words down. Start putting your thoughts down. And if you really want to publish a book, then you need to create time and dedicate time to writing. And of course, it's not that you're going to sit down for 10 hours and write it at once. Maybe that has worked for some people. But it's just creating that little time and say, okay, every day, maybe for 30 minutes, 1 hour, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to start documenting my thoughts. And then when you form that discipline of writing it, and one thing I tell myself, and I also tell people, is that you're writing, when you write something, it doesn't look good, and you maybe you just delete it or you just tear it up and you say, I'm not writing again. That will never make you to have a book. So even when you are writing and it doesn't make sense to you, just keep writing.
Yep.
Somebody was saying that writing is different from editing. So as an author, your work is to write.
Mhm.
There are editors that their work are to edit. They can remove all
Mhm.
the rubbish when you have written
You're
it. So
right.
just keep
Yeah. Yeah.
writing,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're
Because when
right.
you write and sometimes you read your work, you may think, this what am I even writing? Does it even make sense? But somebody else will pick your work and say, wow, this is so good. I mean, you need to publish this. There's one lady that I mentor, so to say, and she usually send me poems that she writes. And then when she writes it, she doesn't think they are good. But each time I read her poems, I'll say, wow, this is great. And they are actually very good. And I was telling her, you need to put these poems together because we need to publish it. And she was saying, really? Because she didn't even see it from that angle. She didn't know that it was good. So that is one thing about us, that you may not see the beauty and the talent in your work, but somebody else will see it and they will be able to know that this will be a blessing to somebody. For somebody that wants, that is an aspiring writer, just keep writing. And then maybe just find somebody to also hold you accountable.
Yeah.
If you've been saying, I want to write a book for 5 years and you are still speaking, make yourself accountable for somebody and say, maybe by next year or in 2 years' time, I want to write a book. And then that person will hold you accountable. And I think accountability helps us also to be on track, that you get done what you want to do. Yeah.
Now I'll get you there, Ayub. So I'm going to hold you accountable this time that I must finish my book. All right. So I'm taking that. I'm taking that out today.
All right. So I
So
think
that's
we'll agree behind the camera now. The time you finish the book, and then I'll hold you accountable that by that time the book must be ready.
That's actually so
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, so we just keep writing. So if you're there and you aspire or you've been aspiring to write, listen, just keep writing, just keep typing it out, just keep writing it on your jotter or wherever, and just keep writing. When it's time to edit, there's always an editor to read and edit your work, or someone to proofread it for you. There's the kind of a third eye to go through the book, and then before it gets to the printer or to the publisher. But just keep writing. That's what Ayum is telling us today. Just keep writing. So Ayum, I think we should be wrapping up.
Yeah, before we wrap up, I'm going to ask you a question because
Yeah,
you have also read the book. So,
sure.
what will you say? What's your take from the book? Was there any way you connected with the book when you read it? Was there any way it was helpful to you? So, I want to also know your thoughts about the book.
In so many ways, talking about grace, if you have not experienced grace, it's a bit difficult to understand it. But reading this book will make us to understand that almost everything we do on earth is by God's grace. It's not by our power. But when you are talking, the area you actually talked about forgiveness, I think on your 15th day of the campaign about the book as well, you
Mm.
actually spoke about that. Say, here, yeah, it gets me there, and that's me there. I'm talking about forgiveness. It's the grace. It's when I read that, I could identify with that so much, because with grace you can forgive. With grace, if somebody hurts you, no matter the level, no matter the level, it's so
Mm.
easy to forgive. You're always like laughing, smiling, and there's no place in your heart, to keep the grudge, because you have that grace of God in you that enables you to forgive so easily. Like some people will say, let's say for my pastor, for instance, will say that he always forgives even before you wrong him. In other words, it's so easy to forgive when you tap on the grace of God, that no matter, and you are also using your life experience there, talking
Mhm.
about how much or how how much people have hurt you and what you've been through and everything, but the grace that you tapped into was able to help you to overcome. And it's not
Mhm.
something you ever remember and remember in bitterness. That's one thing about grace, and that's one thing the
Mhm.
book is talking about as well. Because when the grace is there and you forgive, you don't remember with
Mhm.
bitterness. You just remember as a human being, as that your memory, that your cognitive skills are still working. You just remember because
Mhm.
you think back, but not with any iota of hatred or of bitterness or of anger, but you just forgive, and it's so easy. It's like it's so easy. And reading this book is that aspect is one area that I think we all need as human beings, because we need to keep forgiving. We need to keep forgiving so that we keep living a happy and joyous life.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much for that. And funny enough, you were not aware of this, but the
Yeah.
lady that did a book review during the book launch, it was
Yeah.
still the same thing that she said ministered to her. So
Wow.
when she was asked which area of this book did you connect with most, because I think that is
Yeah.
one area that almost everybody struggles with.
Yeah.
It's easy to say forgive, or it's easy to say, "Oh, I'm a forgiving person," if you've never really been hurt. But
Yeah.
if somebody that you maybe you threw yourself on, that you
Yeah.
depended on, trusted, stab you in the back, it can be very, very difficult at that point.
Mm.
Because when somebody that you don't really, if a minor thing happens, it may not be difficult, but there are some things that happen. I heard the story of a woman that somebody killed her son, and she said the person that killed her son, she was going to adopt that boy as her own son. If it's not the grace of God, that doesn't make sense.
Mm.
Because for many people, they actually want to kill that person. And if they don't kill that person, they will never want to see that person again at all.
Mm.
So there's this level of grace that you can enjoy no matter what somebody has done for you. And like I said, when I say the grace helps us to forgive, or the grace helps us in different, I'm not undermining your experience, because like I said, the experience can be very grave. And there are some
Mm.
times that we feel helpless. And that is where grace comes in, because the experience I talk about in my book, at that I was helpless. I felt I couldn't go beyond this point. But the grace of God was what helped me to move on. Ochanya asked a question in the chat here. She said, "What one question would you want to be asked that has not already been asked?" Not one question that I want to be asked. I know during the interview at the beginning, Amaka asked me why I write, but she didn't ask me why I wrote Mama Grace. So maybe, why did I write Mama Grace as a book? And okay, let me say that's one question. So writing Mama Grace as a book is still in line with my ethos of writing, like I want to help people and all that. But I also felt that I have enjoyed a lot of the grace of God in my life. And there are people that will read this story and it will help them. So I
Mhm.
wanted to just like also pass across that grace. Because like if you go to church, there's this statement we always make when we want people to give testimony. We say that every testimony has the ability to multiply itself. So I
Mhm.
believe that writing Mama Grace will also be a point of contact for many other people there to become Mama Grace and Papa Grace as well. And by the way, Mama Grace is not a gender book. When I say Mama Grace, it's not meant for women alone. So I used the title Mama Grace because I am a woman, so I am Mama Grace. But if you're a man out there, this book is still very applicable to you. So like I said, no matter your gender, no matter your color, no matter your age group, you'll be able to read this book and you will find it a blessing. So thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to go. Thank you, Ochaya, for asking us that question there as well. I know this won't be a problem with you. It's not part of the questions I lined up for you, but I know it's your story. You can always tell the story anytime. But I want you, because some people are joining us and some people are yet to go through this video much later on, and they will want to know, we're talking about the other side of Mama Grace. Is it okay for tell us a little bit of Grace, your daughter, and the part that the part of her that came into the book, that, you know, because I know it's like two-sided story kind of. You're talking about the grace of God on your life, and then also the grace that you enjoyed while you had grace and stuff. So is it okay, so that when people are listening to this video much later on, they can identify, they can connect with the two? To tell us a little bit about grace, then we'll be rounding up. If you don't mind, it's your story. I know you know the story yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking that. It's always my pleasure to talk about Grace anyway. So, Grace happened to be my fourth daughter. She was born on the 26th of January 2004. So, she would have been 17. But by the grace of God, or to the glory of God, or by the will of God, God called her home on the 5th of August 2019. So, she was 15 when she passed from this world. But grace actually came to change my life. And in the word of my spiritual father, she said, grace came to launch you into your purpose. And that's been a word that I've held on to, because I was doing, my life was completely different. I was living in a different country. I was doing a different business. I was in a different, everything about me was different. But when I had her, everything changed. Like, for instance, I read computer science originally from Nigeria in the university. But it was because of grace that I transitioned into accounting. Because when I had her and my business, everything had to stop. I now thought of what can I do while I was nursing her. That was when the
So
idea of, okay, start writing.
yeah, so tell us, sorry, Adam, I didn't mean to cut you. I'm also looking at it. Just tell us the nature of her disability that
Okay.
people can connect with. Yeah.
All right. So yeah. So like I was saying, yeah, she changed everything about me. But Grace was born with just one finger on each hand. This is the book he gave me, Comfort, that I wrote, that told much of the story about her. So he gave me Comfort was it's a book that was published about 10 years ago actually now. So I talk more about her condition then. She was born with a condition they call Cornelia de Lange syndrome. So that condition, you can read a little more about it on the internet, but there are mild cases of it, there are moderate cases of it, there are severe cases of it. And Grace's own happened to be one of the severe cases of it, where she didn't have speech, she was not able to walk, so she was wheelchair bound, and she was completely dependent on her family and carers to take care of her. So I needed to give her all the full-time attention that she needed. And then, but she was a lovely girl. We loved her, and she made us laugh, and she brought
Yeah.
a lot of joy to the family.
Yeah, that I know, because Grace has been my guest at Edon Dog in 2015, and I
Yeah.
can identify with everything you're saying. I know the story, and that grace in on you that you use to carry out things, to do things, is something I've always tapped on as well. You know, when I look at you, I get inspired. And you talking about your book, Mama Grace, today has inspired me again to remember all the stories, all the things you've been through, and the things you're doing, the great work you're doing. And now I'm putting it into writing again by writing this book called Mama Grace. Thank you so much, Ayun, for coming into this live chat. And for our viewers and everyone listening, thank you so much for joining us. I was talking to Eyum Ejiga. I call her Eyum the Great, or the great author, or the great writer. And my name is Amako Konkwo. So we are bringing this together to you just to let you know about what this book is all about, Mama Grace. You can always get a copy from Amazon. Go to Google, it's Amazon Mama Grace. You will see it. It's very affordable, and you can finish it within few hours. Thank you so much for watching. And Ayum, what is the last word you have for our viewers before we close the door? Thank
Yeah. So
you.
yeah, for everyone that have joined us live, thank you so much. And for the people that are watching the replay, thank you again. So my encouragement to you is that get the book for yourself, because there's nothing like reading something at your own pace, grasping it and applying it to your life. Because like I said, My intention for you is to understand what grace entails, and how you can live it out in your own life. So I want you to experience more of the grace of God, and that is why I've written this book. So I want you to get a copy of the book so that you can read it and begin to grow in grace. That is one of the most exciting part of the book to me, growing in grace. And I talk a lot. I dedicated the chapter to growing in grace. So I
Yeah.
want you to grow in grace. So that is my word to you. And Amaka, thank you so much for coming on this program. We have done a lot of this together before in Ireland, and
Yeah.
we thank God now for technology that you can be in Ireland, I can be in the UK, and we can still
Yeah.
do this. And
Yeah.
Amaka is the founder of Edon Doc. Maybe you just want to tell us something about Edon Doc so that people know a bit of what Edon Doc is all about.
I'm looking at the time. Okay, viewers. My name is Amako Konko, like you said, or I've said a couple of times here. I founded Doc in 2012. It's just a platform we use to encourage say Black African in Ireland, or migrants in Africa, in Ireland, in area of employment, because talking about employment, it has to do with how we all migrated to live in a different country, in a foreign country, and looking for a job that's really connected to what you've studied was a bit difficult, challenging then. So when I founded that, it was just a platform to give information and to encourage us, to do more, and to keep inspiring, to keep aspiring more as well. And I also used to convene Doc International Networking Dinner. If you Google that, you'll see that. So yeah, basically that's what it's all about. We're just here to encourage ourselves to promote employability and entrepreneurship, and this is part of what we are doing today with AUM. So thank you so much for joining us, and see you again. Go to Amazon, Google Mama Grace, and get this book. And if you're joining us, or you just listen later on, please type in your name and where you're watching from, or where you've watched from. Thank you for joining us, Ayum.
All right, thank you so much. I can see Patricia saying brilliant book. Thank you for that endorsement part. I Joy is saying thank you for imparting us with your grace and letting us know what the grace of God can do. Thank you
Can
so
do.
much.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I mentioned in my book, I think I'm always sharing just a little of the grace of God, because there's so much to the grace of God, and I
yeah.
believe we all, maybe as you even read the book, you can even get revelations about the grace of God as well. So
Mhm.
thank you again, everyone, for joining us. And then I want to also let you know about the grace campaign I've been doing for the last 30 days. So every day for the last, I'm doing it for 30 days. And I think I've done it now maybe for like 21 days. So if you go on my Pay Your Game Ministry page, or you go on our YouTube channel, or you even check out my timeline, you will see the daily campaign I've been doing, talking about just taking bits from the book and sharing every day. And people that are watching it are getting blessed. So if you've not watched that, you can go back and watch those daily campaign to throw more light on the book, and I believe you can catch some revelation from there. So thank you, everyone, and from me and Amaka here, God bless you, and we'll see you another time. So God bless you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. God
Bye.
bless. Bye.